Welcome everyone to the channel. This is Moyna Bass Fishes. I am Jim Moyna, Director of Product Spokesmanship here at Moyna Bass Fishes Enterprises. In this video, we're going to kind of do a follow-up to my last video. In the previous video, I kind of brought up the discussion of, and this is in light of the bad year of tournament performance I've had. It was suggested by Jim Tutton, his nephew, that I mean, it was kind of half-heartedly, you know, kind of tongue-in-cheek suggesting, but maybe a little bit of truth to it, that I should just put away the forwards facing sonar for next year, or just moving forward, and just focus on how I've always caught them in the past. So that was what the last video was all about. And I was looking for some comments, some thoughts from the viewers, and I got some. So, I mean, and of course they are all from the board. You know, some of the comments were, you know, Jim Tutt's crazy. You have to use forward sonar to keep up. I mean, to not use it, you're just behind. And then there are other guys pointing out other professional fishermen that don't use it, like John Cox, for example. Apparently he doesn't use it. I don't know this for a fact. This is just what commenters are saying. There's another guy that apparently finished 5th in the Tackle Warehouse Invitationals. Apparently he wasn't using it this year, and then other cases as well. So people are trying to present a case that you can do well without it. So yeah, so it's just a wide range of comments. Now, let's talk about me and how it's going to fit in. So I put a lot of, I responded to all the comments, put in, it helps to open my mind to different avenues of thinking. And so this is what I've determined what I need to do. One, I need to better understand when to actually rely on it and when to just shut it off. So that's just a learning process, and I think I'm making strides in that direction, but I still need to continue to make strides in that direction. Don't use it when that's not going to be the pattern, and use it when that is the pattern, basically. So I just need to understand how that's going to, when is it going to be best for me to use it, and when's it going to be best for me not to use it. So I've never been a believer in going 100% in on any one technique, whether it was, throwing crankbaits all the time, or throwing a spinnerbait all the time, or throwing a jig all the time. I've always preached versatility. I've always tried to practice versatility in my own fishing. And I think using the forward-facing sonar is just, sometimes you use it, sometimes you don't. Just be versatile with it. Try to recognize when it's going to help my particular way of fishing and when it's not, and when it's not. And let me just add this. Forward-facing sonar is probably most advantageous when fishing deeper water. And I've made a lot of money in my tournament career fishing deep water. So I've won a lot of money fishing shallow as well, but I've won a lot of money fishing deep water, fishing ledges, fishing off the weed lines. So I can't, and it's such an aid in that style of fishing that, in a tournament setting, I have to use it. And that just brings up another thing is, some people in the comments are bringing up the ethics of it. This is not really a discussion of the ethics. I'm aware of the arguments for and pro ethically, and there's some things I agree with on both sides of those arguments. So it's not really I'm not really discussing that part of it. I'm just discussing how to use it in my strategy in those tournaments that allow it. Okay, if the tournaments allow it, if the state regulations allow it, it's just going to be open for use. So anyway, so that's one. So getting back more on track. One, recognize when to use it, when not to use it. Now, two, I still have to get better with it, and I've kind of pointed out a few weaknesses. You know, I've kind of come up with a couple weaknesses in my use of it. One would be fish identification and judging fish size. All right. The more you use it, the more you're going to get better with those things. But I almost feel as though I feel like I'm not making any new strides in that area. So an easy fix that's going to cost some money would be to upgrade my screen size from the 12-inch to the 16-inch. I've always used a 12-inch, and I use Lowrance Active Target 2. And going all the way back to my first Lowrance Active Target 1 I had, I've always used the Lowrance 12-inch screens for viewing. And I've caught a ton of fish. And I'm able to differentiate, you know, like a 3-pound bass from a 20-pound catfish or a 20-pound carp. I can tell that difference. Or I can tell the difference between a 3-pound bass and a half-pound sunfish. So I can tell that difference. But I cannot tell the difference between a 2-pound bass and a 4-pound bass. That is just not something I'm able to do with any reliability at all. As far as species differentiation, you know, I'm getting better with that, but still, a big crop, a big 1.5-pound crappie, I can't, that looks just like a bass to me on the screen. Walleye look a lot like bass. I'm starting to tell a little bit. I mean, if I see a school of fish, I can tell if those are walleye, generally speaking, because of the way they interact with each other and the way the formation they set up as far as how they swim together. That seems to be a little bit different than the bass. So I'm getting better at the walleye, but when I see like a single walleye or 2 walleye out there, or 2 images, I don't know if those are bass or you know, smallmouth bass, or if they're walleye or largemouth. I'm starting to pick up, you know, so I throw at it. So a lot of times, seeing how the fish reacts to my bait, I can get a good idea as to whether that's a walleye or a bass, but I still have to waste my time and throw at it. So if I see a blob on screen, throw over there, and then it's like, oh gosh, that sure seems like a walleye. Well, I've just kind of wasted that time. So by going to the 16-inch screen from the 12, the hope is, and it's not hope, this is what will happen. I'll get more detail with a bigger screen, and in that detail, hopefully I'm going to be able to pick up more clues as to what I'm looking at and how big they are. So that's the reason why I'm going to the 16. Pick up more detail, and perhaps, you know, it'll be interesting to see how it works out. Will I get more detail at a distance? Who knows? And that brings up the third thing. I think what I need to do is start working my lures at a greater distance from the boat. I really like that 40 to 50 foot range right now. For you know, that's the distance I like to throw at. I have my screen set at 80 feet. Rarely, you know, on a rare occasion I'll put it at 100. Most of the time it's at 80. And at 80, you really don't start seeing what you want to be seeing till at about 70 feet. And by the time you recognize, as the boat's moving forward, by the time you recognize that something is happening at 70, 75 feet, by the time you stop your momentum and everything, now you're at like 55, 60 feet. And that, I mean, I keep reading these things from pros and hearing commentary how some guys like to, I mean, they like to be working their baits on these fish at 80 feet or 100 feet even in some cases. There's certain baits that I use for forward sonar, I can't cast them 100 feet. I can't even cast 80 feet. So, but this is just another thought that, hey, you know, maybe I got to just work at greater distances. Now, as far as casting and that, I'm very accurate with the thing. I can put my bait right on the fish most of the time, or if I want to cast it 10 feet beyond the fish, I can do that most of the time. And that's been a learning process, but I'm just about, I mean, I'm almost plateaued at that. I'm not going to get much better. Sure, I might get a tiny bit better, but I mean, even if you know, when you first start at it, the easiest way to get your bait on top of the target you're casting to is to have the boat and trolling motor pointing straight at the fish. And I remember as I first started, if I got away from that, if all of a sudden I started, you know, scanning around and I saw one like at a 45-degree angle, it was hard for me to pitch over there and get a bait on that fish where the bait and the fish are on the screen at the same time. My accuracy wasn't as good early on, but I've even gotten better at that. It's thrown off to the side at marks and getting the bait on those fish. So, I mean, sure, it can always get a little bit better, but I'm close to hitting I'm close to plateauing at that. So, and that's how I feel with this 12-inch screen. I feel like I'm close to plateauing at what I can differentiate with the detail of this 12-inch screen. So that's why I'm going to the 16. And it's going to cost me some money. You know, I'm not happy about that, but hopefully I see that return to me in future tournament winnings. So, all right. So there's those thoughts, and what else? What else did I learn? Those were the kind of the main things. Just trying to figure out, you know, when's the best time for me to use it, when not to use it. Let's move to a bigger screen. Let's work these fish at maybe a little bit greater distance. So I think if I do those three things, I'll catch more fish with forward-facing sonar. All right, other than that, gosh, I did this again. I'm standing here casting with this rod and reel in my hand. I'm supposed to be using this and casting this and catching fish while I'm talking about this forward sonar business. So I'm just standing on my dock here. And anyhow, that's about all I really got to say for this video. It is interesting to hear what the viewers are saying about this kind of stuff. I know some people hate it, other people like it. This is not a discussion of ethics in this video so much, it's just a discussion of just being better with it, if you know, if possible. And now I'm snagged. Over and out.